But what people do is they possess their instinct by the I thought self-will. Then you just live for yourself. And that's suffering, really. But if you don't react to yourself, if you remain as the true form, formless, whatever, as that observation, as a being, the instinct offers community. That's all it is. Our body represents community, not meaning. It offers us an expression to be onto ourselves for others, really. I learned this working the 12 steps, that the community that I represented got hijacked by the separate thought, self-possession, got hijacked. And I lived by my own self-centered fear and self-obsession. And so my reaction to my instinct, I overexceeded them, which caused conflict amongst my peers, my family, or I would deny instinct and be in denial. So this mad ego activity played out on my instincts, because our instinctual drives are very powerful. The need for security, the need for love, the need for society or social instinct, very powerful. And if you misuse them, it's a playground for that narcissistic tendency, that play of Narcissus. And you see it every day in the world, see it in yourself. And it's reacting to yourself for yourself, or who you love conditionally, but community was restored when self-realization occurred, and I saw that the true meaning is the knowing of it. It wasn't the reaction to it. It's the knowing of it. And the knowing of it, its true origin was not the instinct. This fixation fell away. So suddenly consciousness fell back to its origin. And there was this tremendous peace, this tremendous love. That was not human, just this source, this essence. And I could see that where my attention went from that self-realization, the essence went, and so I could see that as there were these drives in the body, it signaled community, it signaled to commune, to remain the original body, what you are in God, in the likeness of God, but to also be the experience of this tendency to give and receive. In my body became corrected by what was experiencing, and the instinct itself became a portal for service. For community, while the community itself did not qualify what I was in God, but coming into being is coming into community straight away. You've got to think about yourself, and think about others. You know, if you don't think about yourself, you won't feed yourself, you won't look after yourself. So there is that instinct, and you do that consciously. You do that in a, you know, it's a communicative thing, these drives, and it signals back. But what's doing this? It's consciousness. And so you take care of yourself, and you serve others. You recognize the needs that you have, everyone else has, and it kind of binds us together like a community. And you see that the self-realization itself is communion. And instinct, or it is in its capacity for community, it's a capacity to be, and to serve, to see what we first are in others, you know, but at the same time, community, you know, you're being to serve in that community, really, to be human. And the deep truth in that is when you come to see that even the instinct doesn't qualify you as pure awareness. Of course, we know that pure awareness is the experience of instinct, and that instinct never comes first. Never. What is knowing always comes first. So it's a pull into existence. Whatever your instinct is saying, you know, it's a very clever, sensitive sense, like hearing, like seeing, like feeling, touching. Our instincts are the same. It's like their sense is sensitive to, oh, I'm hungry, or I'm cold, or you know, that is just it's part of our humanity. But where it doesn't qualify you as the original body, it remains experience. That's it. Yeah, it remains experience, and it's here that you begin to learn what direct experience is, remaining as that original body of awareness or consciousness, not separating, not being, you know, not attaching to anything and suddenly reacting to yourself thinking. That's long gone. You're just present. You just, the knowing just fills everything, you know, and the knowing doesn't see anything in the forms level, in your levels, as other than what is experiencing. They start coming together. It's quite paradoxical. And as you maintain your original face by knowing it, not separating and doing techniques, but just in that knowing itself, in self-realization, as soon as the experience of something in your person occurs, as soon as there's a movement in your mind, in your heart, you know, in this capacity that we have as a body mind, you come to see that where awareness remains the experience without compromising its formless nature, it then, in its experience of the forms, as soon as a form is touched, but as soon as you come to know a form, which is as soon as you touch a form, as soon as the form appears in your knowing of it, the form reflects back the capacity of your person. So if a thought arises, that thought will reflect the capacity for mental consciousness, mental space, because it's a space, it's a form. A feeling will arise in the body, a sensation, and it will reflect back an emotional consciousness, and it's like a space. And you kind of remain spaceless. You still remain alone, and you become alone in that space. and there's no separation. It's just there's a reflection of what's experiencing appearing, and there's no separation. This is the end of non-duality, or sorry, the end of duality. The trouble is where people don't know they're knowing, they're experiencing the forms, and like with the capacity of mind in its reflection of mental awareness, they think they're the mental awareness. Suddenly there's a mental sense of thinking yourself, which is complete illusion. Yet the knowing of it, or the aloneness, is never separate from that illusion even. You can't get rid of mental awareness. It's just a reflection. Once you don't identify with it, it just becomes capacity. It just becomes spaces that you feel via your experience of it. There's no thought for it. It's completely intuitive. The way of knowing is completely intuitive. Doesn't negotiate itself, as does the I thought. So community is the outward ability to commune, to experience. And in that direct experience, as soon as there's a reflection, that mental consciousness, that's a reflection of that's not separate from knowing the aloneness, feeling that, because nothing's separate from that aloneness. As soon as you touch it, that reflection is your humanity. That's your humanity. Humanity is just the reflection. It's like a feedback, of what you're experiencing by what is experiencing, and they become one. So you're nothing, but in that direct experience, there's a humanity aspect, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's what we were born to be, and we're born to serve. We're not even meant to think about ourselves. We're meant to be all together, thinking about each other's needs. That's how it's meant to be. It's so distorted, But when the ego lives for itself, as I say, the needs are very powerful. They're powerful drives. And if you identify with them, you'll be driven by them. Yeah, that's right. So the more you remain as knowing, it expands until that is all there is. Yeah, that's right. That's true. But in the beginning, it's not like that. In the beginning, for you, it's just knowing that your love of God cannot return to God. You can't use that, that you have to become alone. And then that aloneness in its contemplation comes to know its innermost and that essence, and comes to see that it's of it and is it. Self-realization can occur, awakening can occur, but we're talking about conscious awakening, or not conscious, but awakening. I've got a really bad chair, sorry about this. And I've got a cushion that keeps going through the back. So then what happens is, because there's stages in this sense, you can only speak about it in stages, but that stage then is one can discriminate the aloneness or knowing of all objects appearing. And you come to see that your knowing of the object is without object. Does that make sense? Can you see that now? That your knowing of an object needs no other object to know itself. Let's try this. It is a knowing without object. It's not I think, therefore I am. It's not an ego thing. Awareness in its even prior awareness, if you discount your mental reflection awareness, your emotional reflection awareness, they're just reflections. The existence itself is without object. It's permanent. And you can't come to know that through your reflections, through your memories, dreams, and reflections. You can't do that. Existence is here now. Emmanuel, God is with us. The covenant of existence is this existence that is permanent, right? That's realization when that knows. Not you know that knows. That knows. And it knows without object. Okay, so then that becomes your reality point to everything. After that, it's just everything is not separate from that. The knowing of that, but a knowing that needs no object, but is not separate from object arising. It just doesn't need to think. It's true intelligence. I mean, when have you never existed? When have you ever once never felt an existence? Where could these forms be without existence? Couldn't happen. So what comes first is existence. That is the word of God. That existence that needs no object then comes to see that although it is without object, it is the experience of object. Then you begin to learn. You've got to learn this new science because you're growing up again. You're growing up in the likeness of God, in the likeness of what you are in reality. But that you have to be taught that. You have to learn that. But in the beginning, it's just you have a love of God. But in your existence, your knowing of that, it is without thought. It needs no thought. And when that awakens, I'm going to buy you a new chair for Christmas. Thank you. I've had terrible trouble with this chair, and I do apologise. It's so elusive to the mind. It's so elusive to your mental reflection, emotional reflections, physical reflections, that reflects personal consciousness. You know, it's before all that, it's prior to all that. And it's got nothing to do with what's arising, nothing to do with how you negotiate your forms. It's already here. And being that for no one. It's not about I know that. It's just about that. Not I know that. The I has to fall away. It's just that. It has no affectation. It's permanent, and everything is arising out, everything is happening, that remains permanent. You don't need to get caught in the spaces of your mind, the spaces of your emotions, which is just reflections, reflective consciousness. Reflexive consciousness is what we call ordinary awareness. You get a thought, mentally, I'm thinking, emotionally, or, these are types of awareness. They're just qualities of consciousness, qualities of awareness, but they're reflections. That it's just this. What you know is existence, existing. That's it. That comes first. Then everything in time starts to, as you start to be the direct experience of your forms, they start to truth associate. They start to come inward to what is experiencing, and then that takes time. That's another lesson. That's another lesson.